Welcome to Managing Your Spouse Through Selling on Amazon. We all know that selling on Amazon is difficult and it brings a lot of stress into our family and our lives, and that managing our family life is just as important as managing our business. And so today we're going to talk about how I've been able to successfully sell on Amazon and keep my wife happy 50% of the time. Okay. So I came in with my own theme music and made up a new presentation on the fly. But today what we're going to talk about is customers from click to conversion. And just to kind of get a quick sense, how many people in this room have their own private brand they're selling on Amazon? Awesome. And so we're going to start calling ourselves manufacturers. We're going to start calling ourselves contract manufacturers and stop calling ourselves private label brands. And what's awesome about private label brands, right? Because most of us are old enough to know that private label brands used to be this negative connotation, right? They were bad. It was bad to have a private label brand. If you were buying the private label brand, that means you didn't have enough money to buy the real brand, right? But today, we live in a society where private label is everywhere. You go into Costco and the whole dang thing is private label Kirkland. But we also know that if you buy the Kirkland vodka, or if you don't know this, you should, it's just, anybody know? It's Grey Goose. It's Grey Goose, right? So it's manufactured in the same place. It's contract manufacturing. That's what we all do, right? Some of us own our own manufacturing facilities, so we're not contracting, but we're actually the manufacturers. But as we sell on Amazon, we have this job where we have to get the person from the click to the conversion. So for those that don't know me, I got a quick introduction, but my name is Jeff Cohen. I'm a partner and part of the executive team at Seller Labs. I've been in e-commerce for over 14 years. I've done everything from the retail side to selling direct to customers on Amazon to helping manage a software business. And if you're not familiar with Seller Labs, that's what really kind of drives the knowledge that I've been able to gain. So I've learned it as being a seller, but I've also learned it by working with sellers. And our sellers in 2016 did over $7 billion on the Amazon platform. And this allows us to gain a ton of information from them to understand what's working and what's not. So we have our own experience, right, from our own products that we're selling. But when you're able to kind of take from everybody, from the aggregate, you're able to learn from trends. We did start as sellers. We could go through that whole story, or you can listen to a podcast and it can tell you that. We started as sellers. We converted to be a software company back in around 2014. We do have 3 products that are out on the market. These are probably the brands that you're familiar with. But what we really want to talk about today, and what you should be most proud of, is that you are where the future of Amazon is going. So this is Amazon day one. And I'm going to share that concept with you here in a bit, but this is the future of where Amazon is going. And if you had come to this conference back at session number 1, right, we're at session number 7, or you started selling on Amazon 2 or 3 years ago, you were in the world of retail arbitrage and online arbitrage. And the great debate and the great question that exists in the space is it dead, right? And I really don't want to get into that debate because there are plenty of people that are still making money with retail and online arbitrage. But if you look at the future and you look at what Amazon is looking for, it's not in retail arbitrage, and it's in private label brands. It's in contract manufacturers. And we'll explain a little bit why that is the case. But ultimately, Amazon is looking to find people that are going to play by the rules, that are understanding and assessing their risk, and that are looking for ways to diversify. So they're moving from this RAOA and into private label. So at Amazon, they use this concept of day one. And day one is kind of, today's the first day of the rest of your life, right? That's the basic concept of day one. And when Amazon today speaks about day one, they speak about China as day one. They speak about contract and private brands as day one. And they talk about reducing the time from a product to a consumer as day one, right? And so that's why you see things like Echo, and that's why you see things like drone deliveries, and that's why you're hearing about the new blimp that's going to be a mobile warehouse, right? And these are all kind of the future of where Amazon is going. And so is the changing of the traditional selling model, right? So this is the selling model that most of us kind of grew up with, for lack of a better term. And there's multiple channels within each of these. And when you looked at business 10 years ago, you actually had this opportunity to be at any part of this chain, right? And there were people that were specialized and subspecialized in different parts that exist within this chain. But what happens is that bloat begins to occur, right? And so what Amazon has effectively done over the last 10 plus years is this is what they've done. And this is why the future of day one is what we're doing in here. It's private label brands and it's direct to consumer, because you're able to go from the contract manufacturer onto Amazon and you're able to sell. And it's an awesome world that we live in, and we should all be very happy and proud that we live in this world, because we don't have to have all of the things that you used to have to sell online. So how many people in this room have their own warehouse? Okay, great. And how many of you are using a 3PL, which means you're using somebody else's warehouse? Not Amazon, right? We all know that one exists, right? Great. So most of you have expanded your business beyond this model because you're also housing your inventory and you're using your own facility to collect your goods, distribute your goods, and to manage your goods. I was recently at a conference in China. I attended a conference with 3,500 Amazon sellers. And the second day of the conference, myself and Eric Heller, who I think is speaking next in the other room, were able to have a forum with a group of about this size. And we sat down and we asked the people at the forum. It was basically like just open Q&A, right? No slides, no presentation. It was like, what do you want to know? Here are 3 Americans standing on the stage who claim they know something about Amazon. What questions do you have? What's your burning desire? And the number one thing that they raised their hand and they asked about was audience participation time. Suspension, you're right. It was account suspension. It was owning multiple accounts. It was how can they protect themselves? Do you guys know what the second question was? Suspension. You got the question more than once. The second question from everybody was, what's the magic formula? What's the silver bullet? And I got up and I started answering that question, and I started giving my normal answer, which is, there is no silver bullet to selling on Amazon. It requires hard work and dedication and understanding the data, and you can't just turn it on and make it happen. And then Eric cut me off and he goes, no, there actually is a magic formula. And we kind of developed this magic formula. I'll say we co-authored it because we kind of both threw some pieces together into it. And it's what we as contract manufacturers and brand owners really need to do. You have to have a better product. You have to offer a better value, and then you'll win on Amazon. Now you notice that this slide doesn't say you have to have a better product at a cheaper price. So what's a better product? That's what we're going to get into today. What's a better value? That's what we're going to get into today. And your job as a brand owner is to make sure that you're adding value to the chain. Because that's where people fail on Amazon. You fail on Amazon when you go to Alibaba and you buy a product and you put a sticker on it and you repackage it and you sell it. Yes, you can make money from doing that. I'm not going to say that you can't. But you're not adding value. You're not creating a relationship between your brand and your consumer that will allow you to do things like what major manufacturers are able to do, right? So we don't blow our nose into a tissue, we blow our nose into a Kleenex. We drink a Coke or a Pepsi, not a soda. That's what major brands have been able to do. They've been able to create a value proposition with their customer to where their customers are asking for their product by name. And that's when you succeed on Amazon. When somebody's doing direct name type-in traffic for your product, you've succeeded on Amazon. But until then, we have to do generic type-in traffic. And the beauty of generic type-in traffic is I've made a lot of money off of it. Have any of you? You can raise your hands. It's okay to, profit is not a dirty word, okay? So my first business that I started in e-commerce was a website called textbooks.com. And I worked for a $500,000 textbook distributor who I was running their corporate advertising, and they said, hey, I had just created their new corporate B2B website. It was super exciting, right? This was like 1997, cutting edge stuff. And they said, we want you to run our e-commerce site. And I said, cool, I'd be happy to run an e-commerce site. I said, what's the name gonna be? They said, well, we own this domain, textbooks.com. Is that good enough for you? And I was like, yeah, that's good enough. Would you guys like to have ran textbooks.com? Right, so when I launched textbooks.com, and I put a really good team together, right, of experts in e-commerce, when I ran textbooks.com, we launched our site, we did $6 million in the first 6 months. Direct type-in traffic. Now, the internet worked different back then, right? Because the internet back then, if you went up to the little search bar and you typed in the word textbooks, you got search results. Or you went directly to textbooks.com. Today, Google owns that, and so it doesn't happen. And what's changed in the whole system of the internet, and we learned about this stat earlier, right? 50% of product searches start on Amazon. What happens is that now when I want to search for a product, I don't type into my search bar the name of my product. I go to Amazon and I type into their search bar. When I'm looking for a hotel, I go to hotels.com and I type into their search bar. And so we have to put ourselves where our consumers want to be, and we want to talk about ourselves the way consumers want to talk about us. And it's a tough concept for people to understand because we're stubborn, because we're human, right? And as humans, we're stubborn, and we believe that this is a chair. It's not a seat, it's a chair. Who would ever call this a seat? Well, there's plenty of people who are going to say they're looking for a seat or a cushion seat or a yellow cushion seat, as much as looking for a chair. And so we as contract manufacturers, as brand owners, need to understand who our customers are, what they want, and how we can give them a better product for a better value. Now, they as in myself, say that when you go to a conference, you should always walk away with one thing, and if you can walk away with one thing, the conference pays a return on investment, right? Do you guys agree with that? One thing changes your business, right? So I'm gonna give you your one thing. These are the 4 most important numbers you need to know about your business. Okay, I said 1 and there's 4, I know. But it's one slide, okay? Impressions, sessions, conversions, review. I've done this presentation for a while, but I haven't ever talked about it in this way. Because as brand owners, we need to understand exactly where our product sits to understand what we need to solve about our product. Are we having an impression problem? Are we having a session problem, a conversion problem, or a review? And if you think about the way this all works, this is the cycle that's going to tell Amazon whether your product matters. Because impressions mean people are looking for it, sessions mean they came to your site, conversions mean they bought it, and review means they liked what they bought. Okay? Everyone catch that? I can't repeat it because I don't remember what I said. Just got to make sure you guys, it's after lunch, I got to make sure I keep you guys awake. We're going to go through each one of these. Impressions. Okay. There are 2 ways to count impressions on Amazon. The first is sponsored product ads. When you run sponsored product ads, you get a keyword impression. It's actual data of the number of people searching for that product, right? That's your impressions. Then you have your clicks, which is how many people clicked on your ad. So by running sponsored product ads data, you're able to identify what your impressions are for your product, okay? Everything else is what we call a swag, right? Everyone knows what a swag is? Raise your hand if you don't. Awesome. It's a silly, wild-ass guess, right? And so a lot of the data that we have on Amazon is swag data because Amazon doesn't give us all of the data. But impressions through sponsored products does. It tells us what those impressions are. The other is to actually look at the number of keywords that you're ranking for, okay? So you know that you sell this chair and you want to rank for the word yellow chair, but you never knew that somebody's looking for a yellow seat. So it's important for you to not just know what keywords you think you're ranking for, but what keywords you are ranking for. Once you understand your impression data, you're able to see which products are better. You can go into product optimization listing. Now, I love this as an example because this is a horrible listing. And you should always start with bad to show what bad looks like to get to good. I'm going to talk about this one, then I'm going to show you another bad one, and then we'll show how we improved it to be good. So this one is a company They sell this product mainly in Whole Foods. I actually met with the CEO of this company and I talked to them. And I said to him, I said, what are the top 10 allergens? Because I have no clue. Has anybody ever gone to Amazon and typed into search, free of the top 10 allergens? Okay, anybody in this room have kids with allergies? What would you type? Nut-free, soy-free, wheat-free, whatever the allergen is, right? He's missing all of the key terms that would actually drive sales or potential sales to his product. He would be able to identify this by looking at what keywords are driving that. Okay, this is one of my favorite examples. It's a company called Iowa. Who is old enough to know what Iowa is? Okay. For those that don't, we used to have these little plastic things that had a little bit of a tape on one side and another tape on another side, and it went from reel to reel, and you had to put it in a machine and push a button, and then sound came out, right? We called them Walkmans. And Iowa was one of the original creators of the Walkman. And their brand got kind of reinvented, and they're now like, Bluetooth speakers, all that type of stuff. So I met with the company. They're a local Chicago company. I met with the CEO. And he showed me his product and his brand. And I said, this listing is awesome. What the hell is a power input 220-240V, 110, 120V, 5060HZ? And why do I care? And he said, well, what would you suggest that we do? And I said, well, the first thing that I would suggest that you do is run the sponsored product ads. The second thing I would suggest that you do is go look at your reviews. Now, these guys have over 400 reviews in their system. And by looking at their reviews, I'm able to see that this is decent for home and travel use. This has a battery that lasts a long time, 10 plus hours. It's got a huge Bluetooth radius. I don't know what a Bluetooth radius is, but it's huge. And this guy used it at his campsite to go to a music fest. None of those things are explained here. They weren't able to tell their customers in any way, shape, or form. They weren't able to tell, more importantly, the Amazon algorithm that this is what the product does, and this is why people would care. So what we did was we actually worked to rewrite their listing, and I know you can't read this from here, but they came back and they said what the product does and why it matters. So now they have 200 watts of continuous power, right? But why? They did it because it delivers amazing stereo sound whether you're alone in the garage or grilling with friends and family in the backyard. Now I might be looking for a Bluetooth speaker for outdoor grilling, right? That's a long tail keyword that I might actually be looking for, but I'm not looking for a 120-220V H6Z volt blah blah blah, right? So what we have to do as sellers is actually feed the Amazon algorithm exactly what it needs to know about our products. So where do we put this stuff? Well, we put it into our product name, right? Do not keyword stuff your product name. Make sure your product name actually makes sense. Understand how your product name looks in a mobile application because it's going to look different. And make sure that somebody actually can understand what your product is by reading it, right? How many people read the subject line of their email and decide whether they're going to delete it or not? That's how consumers are shopping for your product on Amazon. Photos. Photos are extremely important. We all know the rules of photos, but let's make sure we follow them so we don't get our photos suspended. Lifestyle photos sell. People want to see the product actually being used. They want to see different dimensions of the product. They want to see the package that the product has. Maximize your number of photos. If you have the ability to use enhanced brand content or you have A+ brand content, you should be using it. Bullets and descriptions. Now, this is where we came back from with Iowa and we rewrote their bullets and descriptions. A big question I get all the time is, what's more important, the bullets, the descriptions? It's all important. You don't have to repeat words, right? You don't have to say red car, red automobile, right? Amazon knows that a red car is a red automobile. You don't have to say the word red 100 times because it's red. But make sure you're giving complete descriptions and you're giving complete bullets and you're giving full descriptions within your bullets as to what your product is. This is how you tell Amazon what you want to rank for. If you're not filling these out and you're not giving this information to Amazon, you will not rank for the terms. Amazon is not just going to make up terms for you to rank for. So if you look at your competitors' data and you look at your data and you understand what terms you want, you have to make sure they're in your listing. Now, you do have the ability to use what's called back-end keywords. The back-end keywords is actually where you can use words that are not specific to your product. So maybe you have a duck decoy, but it's also used for owls. You don't want to confuse people and call it an owl decoy. You can use your back-end keywords. You can use this for misspellings. If the misspelling is common, meaning that you begin to type it into Amazon and Amazon auto-corrects it, there's no reason for you to add it to your back-end keywords. But this is a great place for you to actually tell Amazon other uses for your product that you may not be thinking about. So now that we understand our our impressions, now that we understand exactly what we're trying to get, we want to drive more people to our page. And so that's where sessions come into play. And sessions are really a unique visitor to your page. And obviously, we want to drive as many sessions as we can from keyword data and keyword research, but we also need to drive sessions from other sources. And this becomes critical in the overall growth of your plan. I had a conversation with a gentleman last night. He happens to be sitting in this room, and what I said to him was, you cannot create velocity on Amazon. There's only so many people looking for something. If you're maximizing your sales for those keywords, you have to look outside of Amazon to drive in more traffic. And so that becomes really critical. And there's all these channels that you can use to drive traffic, right? You can use deal sites like Snagshout, YouTube videos, Pinterest, Google optimization, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter for the people that don't understand millennium codes. These are how you drive traffic into Amazon. Amazon loves outbound traffic. They love traffic from outside sources that comes in. You can drive traffic from inside Amazon, right? And who in this room is doing sponsored product ads? Okay, I guess I should ask who in this room is not doing sponsored product ads? How many people are confused by sponsored product ads? Most people feel they get it. Great, we're not going to go into it in great detail. It could be a whole workshop on how sponsored product ads work. But ultimately, sponsored product ads take up the top listings on search results. They are always above the fold. This is your opportunity to key in on additional traffic for your listings and to drive more people to see your product, right? So this is where you can actually increase your sales velocity from what the normal search is giving you. You have to be able to drive this in. You have a whole bunch of data from within sponsored product ads. I kind of mentioned earlier, this is a whole kind of workshop on its own, so I don't want to go too deep into it. But ultimately, everything within Amazon that you're targeting is your advertising cost of sales, right? That's what you're looking for. How much is it costing me to buy this sale? My recommendation, break even. If you can break even using sponsored product ads, meaning that I pay $1 to get a sale and it costs me $1, that's okay. Profitability is great, but sales velocity is what ultimately triggers Amazon algorithm to say, this is a superior product over something else. Okay? So use sponsored product ads to make up for a missing piece of your sales velocity that you're going for. There's really there's hundreds of different ways you can drive sales from Amazon, but this is kind of a small little recap of that. The beauty of these sales is they become direct sessions, meaning that you're driving people in right to your product versus driving people in through search results. And so if I sell a yellow chair, how many other yellow chairs are on the page when I search yellow chair? If I can actually write an article and sell and get somebody from Facebook who's interested in a yellow chair to come into my listing, I'm going to have a better chance of converting them. I'm going to need less impressions to convert to a sale. Make sense to everybody? Okay. I know I'm going through this stuff quickly, but they put me on a time limit. So let's talk about conversions, right? So we had impressions. That kind of tells you how many people are seeing your product. We have sessions. That's how many people are coming to your actual product page. Now conversions. Conversions occur when somebody clicks the Buy Now button. It's probably the easiest way to describe it, right? And so this is what Amazon is saying, like, hey, they wanted a yellow chair. They picked this product for a yellow chair, now they bought this yellow chair, right? That's a great effect of your bestseller ranking is going to be, you start to see your sales for the day increased, and then amazingly your BSR increases, or I guess technically decreases to a lower number, which is better, right? That whole confusing thing. We all want the lower number, but the better number. So what converts? Well, I'm going to show you 3 examples. I call this good, better, best, right? And this is for a search on the term cruiser bikes. And it's a concept that I'm not going to get fully into today, but it's what's awesome about Amazon and why you guys can succeed. We've all heard of this company. They're called Huffy, and they sell a cruiser bike. And they kind of follow what Iowa does, right? They're a 26 by 230 cruiser tire, because that's the most important thing, is to know that I have a cream cruiser tire, right? Because that's what I'm looking for in my bike. One photo, this is an okay listing. This is an okay listing. Their competitor, Schwinn, they've got a decent listing. They've bumped it up to 5 photos. They're now telling you this is the new steel lady cruiser. It's got the frame and fork feature, right? Like, I'm now getting a little bit of marketing, I'm being told. But the problem is that traditional brands, they don't know how to market on Amazon. That's why you guys can kick their butts, unless you're in the room, and I'm not really saying that to you, okay? But this is why you can kick their butt, because how many people have ever bought a Firmstrong? Firmstrong leads the category in cruiser bikes. Look at this. Variations, multiple color variations, multiple size, style, speed variations, lifestyle photos of the product, a video, because they've got A+ content. Their conversion rate is going to be higher because they've got more opportunity to sell to their customers. They've got more opportunity to convert their customers. How many people in this room are doing variations on their product listing? Okay, you guys are winners. Like, this is the differentiating factor. This is why you can beat national brands like Huffy and Schwinn. I did this presentation at a conference back in September, and I got off stage, and everybody said, "Oh, that was great." And this guy came up to me and he goes, "Hey, can I ask you why'd you pick Schwinn?" I go, "I don't know. I just kind of thought it was cool that this company Firmstrong is beating Schwinn." He goes, "Yeah, my brother's the CEO." And what we have to understand as sellers is that sleeping giant is going to get woken up. They know that we're taking market share from them. What's that? Now they do. Schwinn does, right? We woke them up. But they're figuring it out. That's why it's harder to compete with them in big box stores. And it's easier to compete with them online because you're talking about a 100-year organization that has to change the philosophy of what they're doing inside their business, and you just go talk to your partner and you do it. So you have to stay on the cutting edge of what you're doing, and you have to follow best practices like this. But ultimately, what you need to do with your product is close the loop. So now you've gotten the conversion, you got to get the review. And the review is ultimately important because it tells Amazon it's the social proof. Now, we've all learned from Amazon's updates that Amazon does not want to see a 1-to-1 ratio between sales and review, right? But are there any people in this room that are getting a 10% conversion of sales to review? Okay, go see Chaz and him in the back, right? It's possible. It's possible to get a 5 to 10% conversion of sales to review. 95? 25%. Stand up. If you are smart, you will buy him a drink tonight and ask him what he does to get 25%. That is what conferences are for. There's a company, their name is Anchor. Anchor does $400 million a month in sales on Amazon. Okay, if you don't know their story, you should look it up. I don't have time to get into all of it today. But they say in their process of picking products, reviews are the most critical part of the private label process. How many people, I was at a conference and I was doing a presentation about the changes in China, and this woman came up to me and she goes, "But Jeff, I should stop selling on Amazon because the Chinese are going to come in and they're going to take all my sales." And I said, "How long have you been selling?" She said, 2 years. I said, "That's awesome." I said, "How many ASINs do you have?" She said, 2. I said, "Okay." I said, How much innovation have you done on your product in the last 2 years? She said 0. If you're selling the same product today that you were selling a year ago, you're letting your business down. Walk through a department store, a Target, a Kroger, a Kmart, a Costco. The products change, new and improved, new packaging. My kids get confused because their cereal box changes every 3 months. It's the same cereal, right? General Mills made one major change in the last 10 years. Other than that, it's just changing the box. Your job as customers is as merchants is to read the reviews and improve your product. That's why people are giving you that social proof back. They're telling you exactly what they want you to do, and it's your job before you reorder to do it. Because that's going to make you a better product, a better brand, and it's going to make people tied to what you do. Now, I'm going to just go through this quickly because I think most of you guys are fairly aware of this, but we all know that today with Amazon, you can't incentivize reviews. That means I cannot say to you, here is my product, will you please write me a review? These are explicitly banned, and Amazon has actually came out and they've clearly defined what you can and you cannot do, but there are still things that you can do. So what is allowed is you can still do general promotions, you can still sell your products at a discount. You just can't say, I'm giving you this product at a discount in exchange for your review. The one thing that I tell sellers today, and yes, we have a discount website, the one thing I tell sellers today is, if you give products away for a discount, don't look for or expect a review. It sucks, I know, because that's the way it used to be, and it was so easy and it was so awesome. But don't do it. It's not worth having to go hire somebody to get you unsuspended because you did it and you did it wrong. Use the sales to drive velocity. Use your other promotions, sponsored product ads, lightning deals, and such, to drive more sales that you can go after and ask for reviews. Yes?
Go for discounts, you're trying to sell and get reviews. But isn't there some gate where you go up too big a discount and won't be verified?
Yeah, I mean, nobody knows the answer, right? So he's asking, is there a certain percentage of a discount that's acceptable versus not when you're asking for a review? I tend to believe it's, if you're going to give a greater than 50% discount, then you shouldn't ask for a review. There are plenty of people that ask for reviews on discounts still up to 90+%. Maybe be softer in how you're asking for that. Maybe really explain that they should not put the disclaimer. That's really what Amazon is looking for. There's a gentleman in the room who's a good friend of mine, and what he always says is, it's your business, it's your decision. And so myself as an Amazon speaker, as somebody who sells in the space, I can tell you what a best practice is. I can tell you what the rules are. You have to understand what the consequences are for your business and then make the decision that you feel is necessary. If you have an established product or an established brand, you want to take less risk. If you're launching a new product, a new brand, you might be willing to take more. But you have to make those decisions. Was that about as indirect of an answer as I could give? Great. So the question is, how do I get reviews? Well, there's one strategy that I like to teach and I like to share. It's called the laws of reciprocity, right? The easiest ways to explain the law of reciprocity is if there's two doors and if I open the first one for you, you're going to open the second one for me, right? So create value for your customer, create a situation where they want to do something to help you out. And my guess is if you talk to the people who are doing greater than 10% on their reviews, that's what they're doing. They're doing something to enhance the customer experience. They're doing something to create a relationship between their customer and their brand. And when they go and they ask for the review, their customer is more than happy to do it. Always give value. If your email just says, hey, thanks for buying my product, please write me a review, your review rate's going to be low. If you're talking about your product, if you're giving more information, if you're sharing and you're explaining to people how to use your product, your review rate will be higher. So I'm going to kind of conclude with that and go into Q&A. If you want a copy of these slides, you can get them at sellerlabs.com/Feedvisor. And just remember the one takeaway from the presentation is impressions, sessions, conversions, review. You have to figure out in your business which of those numbers is a problem. And then you go focus on it. If you need more reviews, you focus on that. If you need more impressions, go look for competitive keyword data. If you need more sessions, start running sponsored product ads. You've got to figure out in your data, and something tells me that the Feedvisor tool might help you figure out where those problems are. So understand where your problem is, and then determine what your attack is for doing it. So thank you guys, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Hey, so we have 10 minutes for Q&A. We can start. Anyone wants? No?
Hi, thanks for the presentation. Very good. Question I have, you were speaking about searchability, and the last time I spoke to an Amazon rep, and I know this is really maybe not a good source of data, but I asked them building the listings, and they said the bullet points are not searchable, but the descriptions are.
So I can prove to you through my listings that the bullet points are searchable within the Amazon algorithm. I would say that if you ask 5 different Amazon reps the same question, you'll get 10 answers. I don't think they know, to be honest with you. But I can tell you that the easiest way to test it is to put a keyword only in your bullet points and don't put it in your description, and see if you can rank for that. And I'd be happy to open up my account and show you that I rank for keywords that are in my bullet points and not in my descriptions. And again, there's no way for Amazon to know that my product should even rank for that if it's not in one of those categories. Now, the question to ask Amazon that we don't know, and if you could figure it out, like you could be on stage, is like, which one has more weight, right? Like, we've never understood like if the title has more weight than a bullet point, or the first bullet point over the fifth, or the description over the bullet points. Nobody really knows that. It's just some thoughts about it. Oh, the mic's coming.
Hey, Jeff. Thank you very much for a nice presentation. Very informative. Question for you. 2 questions. One is on search terms. Under search terms, there's 5 lines, and each line you're allowed 1,000 characters, I believe.
Yep.
We've been told that only 2 of the lines you should really use, so only 2,000 characters. But what is your take on that?
So I've heard that too. I've heard that after 2,000 characters, it kind of maxes out. But like, if you've got 3,000, then why not put them in there? I mean, if you're at 2,000 and you can't think of anything else, then okay. But maybe, and so he's asking about your back-end keywords is mainly what he's asking about. And there is rumor or discussion that only the first 2,000 characters count. And so in that section, you may want to put your more prevalent keywords at the beginning, because there is some belief that once you get over 2,000, it stops looking.
Great, thank you. The other question I have is on the description. Do you use HTML for your description in order to
Is Amazon in the room?
I want to hear this. This is important, yeah.
So I do use some basic HTML in my descriptions to do bullet points or highlights or something like that, but I don't do anything kind of crazy. Like, there's some people that do like the special character call outs, and so I try to stay very basic. If you actually Google Amazon HTML, you'll see that Amazon has a page within their knowledge base where they actually tell you what HTML is acceptable. We primarily push people to that want to use like Feedback Genius and use HTML in their email messaging, but I would just follow the same HTML. So like, they use strong instead of bold, right? So just kind of follow their HTML processes. But Amazon's really changed into enhanced brand content, right? If you haven't heard that term now, you should figure that out, because it's there, and it's basically A+ content for third-party sellers. And that really gives you full kind of HTML capabilities to design a more fancy product description area.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah, I think the lady in front of you had a question. Yeah.
My question was about, My question was about this A+ content. Is it the enhanced content that you're talking about?
Yeah, so A+ brand content and enhanced content are effectively the same thing. A+ content is for Amazon first party, and enhanced brand content is for Amazon third party. So it just depends on which platform you sell on. With A+ content, you have to pay for your A+ content pages, but enhanced brand content is free. So when you're on the, I'm gonna get confused and somebody can help me out, but when you're in your Seller Central page, there's a line that says promotions, and when you go drop down, one of the new drop downs, I think it's under campaign, says enhanced brand content. You click on that and there's like a templates that you follow, and then you complete the page. Not to plug myself, but we're going to be releasing in conjunction with Prosper, the Prosper Show, a whole how to write enhanced brand content on our blog, a whole PDF. So be on the lookout for that. Yeah.
Thanks. Great presentation. Just a quick question. As far as search terms and finding out what search terms your products are currently ranking for.
Yeah.
How do you, besides the third-party application, how do you find out the good search terms that you can then use a broad, a broad or narrow advertising campaign within?
Yeah. So besides using a third-party application, you're just doing it manually. To be totally honest with you. What? Yeah, I wouldn't say you're just guessing. So there's two ways. There's two ways to identify keywords. Okay, so the first way is to do sponsored product ads, and typically running like an auto-targeted campaign. That's kind of a first step. So there are other tools out there. We happen to have one, and there are other people that have them too. And what our tool does is you're allowed to actually enter in an ASIN, and then and you can enter in keywords, and then we track your keywords and we track the ASIN, and we actually show you what keywords rank for that ASIN beyond the keywords that you're watching. So a lot of the watching tools only watch your keyword and your ASIN to see when the two collide, but we actually index, I'm gonna totally get it wrong, but millions, 20 million, 40 million, how many, Brandon? 15 to 20 million keywords that we're constantly checking where they position. And so an example of that that a customer of mine shared was that he had a product that was a dinosaur product. I'm gonna just leave it that generic, right? And he was running this on our product, and he identified that people, for his competitors, were ranking for the term dragon. And he was like, wait a minute, I would have never thought to call this a dragon. I would always call it a dinosaur. So he actually started running sponsored product ads on dragon and became very profitable. He added it to his back-end keywords, and now he's ranking for that term. Yeah, listen, we're not here to plug software and things that we do, but there are third-party apps that are out there that do that, and your job should be to focus on your business. And like was said earlier, if there are experts that are doing that, there are places that you can go to get that, and it's relatively inexpensive. What do we have? Last question.
Quick question.
Quick question.
Here, right?
Oh, okay, I guess she wins. She's got the microphone.
I was wondering, do you know how much weight Amazon places on keywords coming from reviews?
So my belief is that the helpful votes tied to the reviews, the review content, and the question and answers, right? So when people say to you, like, what's the dimensions of the box, or what's the dimensions of this piece in the box, all have to do with the search algorithm. I guess the guys at Feedvisor kind of coined this early on with their buy box Bible of like high, medium, and low importance. My just total guess is that those are going to be a low importance. So they will be the better value of a review is for what you can take out of it and then work into your listing. And so if you really see a keyword or a term that's being used in your review, you should find a way to work that into your listing, not depend on the review for helping you to get it ranked. Does that kind of make sense? Awesome. So I'm in the business of feedback. So did you guys think I did well today? All right.